Good morning from the office. I'm your host, BKP. We are North Georgia's only live online morning show. And let's go and see if there's any recent, let's check the 9 o'clock hour, see if there's any recent tweets from the President of the United States. I don't see anything right now. We like to keep an eye on the Twitter deck to see if Donald J. Trump has tweeted anything out. Now, a couple things going on. It is Thursday, correct? That means tomorrow we will be at Sycamore Crossing, and we'll be at Sycamore Crossing tomorrow morning. And at 8:10, we'll have Ask the Doc with Dr. William Whaley. Ask the Doc with Dr. William Whaley. And 8:30 will be the All-Star Political Panel. Now, we've invited Candace back. If you, I think Candace is coming down tomorrow. Candace was a guest on the panel last week, and she did a very good job, and we were glad to have her, and she fit right in. So we have a little different makeup of the All-Star Political Panel, but it's a 1 hour from 8:30 to 9:30 that we talk about the week's events, and obviously we'll have a lot to talk about with the guilty pleas of Paul Manafort, or found guilty Paul Manafort in the guilty plea from Michael Cohen. And that being said, before I get too deep into some more stuff, you do realize one was found guilty and one made a plea of guilt to charges. Cohen never went through a trial. If Cohen had went through a trial, the count 7 and 8, a defense could have really fought that he was innocent on that. If Lanny Davis, that has been sent from the Clinton crime family to represent Michael Cohen, if Lanny Davis would have had to defend him, okay, count 7 and 8, what would Lanny Davis have done in efforts to defend Cohen on count 7 and 8? And you don't think there's something in the works that's very dirty? Because Michael Cohen knows they know he could have won count 7 and 8. But anyhow, moving right along, Manafort was convicted. Cohen made a plea, a guilty plea. So that, the All-Star Political Panel from 8:30 to 9:30, and then at 9:30, North Georgia Senior Living with Jesse Barton is at 9:30, and then at 9:45, our Pet of the Week from the Humane Society of Blue Ridge. So that's tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. Now, yesterday, let's get into this subject and put up Molly Tibbetts. All right, Molly Tibbetts. Let's go here first. And here is this beautiful young lady, a student in Iowa's beautiful young lady from Iowa, attending the Iowa University there, University of Iowa. There, we're going to get that correct. And she's out jogging, and this guy, Kristan, he's an illegal alien. Put him and Molly up there. So this guy right here, and I want to ask a lot of questions on this. So this guy, we hear immigration. So this guy is in the country illegal. He's illegal. All right, he's working on a farm. He's worked on the farm for 4.5 years, my understanding. He's been in the country for 4 to 7 years, illegal, obviously during the Obama administration. And he's driving along, all right? And he's driving along, and he sees Molly, I guess. He sees Molly jogging, and he talks to her or whatever, and she says, if you don't leave me alone, I'm going to call the police. And the next thing you know, she ends up in his trunk dead, and he freaked out and throws her in the farmer's field and puts corn stalks over her, okay, not being insensitive on the story. Come to find out, he worked at a farm for 4.5 years, and the people that own the farm, as my understanding, said, he is not who we thought he was. He is, or whatever. Boom. This is not the guy on the Social Security card and the ID. This is not the guy. That's not him. So, we have, I guess, a phony driver's license and Social Security card. Now, there's ones in the media that are shocked. Why, they're absolutely shocked that this individual had false documents in this country. And the end all is this young lady's dead. False documents. The farm says, now watch, the media will go after the farmer for not using E-Verify. And politicians will immediately come out and say, well, we have to strengthen our E-Verify system. And we have to hold employers more accountable when they don't use the E-Verify system. Well, I disagree with that. I don't see a big problem using an E-Verify system. But when the attack comes out that the farmer just took the individual's documents, wrote them down, and sent the tax money in under a false name to the government, okay, this uncovers so much stuff. Sent the money in under a false name to the government, but they're going to rush out and say our E-Verify system. Business owners have to be held more accountable. Now, let me ask you a question. How many miles is it between the border in Iowa? You see, for this guy to get to Iowa, he's got to travel a lot of miles across this country. I always said, when it comes to Georgia, when somebody crosses the border illegal, if they get to Georgia, they have crossed a lot of miles of this country to get to Georgia. Why do I, as the employer, all of a sudden have to become the border control? Why is illegal immigration now my responsibility with the E-Verify system? Why do I face these enormous amount of penalties and fines? Why? Now, I'm not totally against it, but the question I'm asking is, why don't we fix the border? And why don't we build a wall, strengthen our border to where not just everybody, then anybody can cross, much like this guy, and then say to me, Mr. and Mrs. Employer, you are the second wall of defense in this country of immigration policy. Second, why am I first? Why do I, as the business owner, have to take the responsibility of being the first line of defense in border security? Why? Because politicians won't step up and secure the border? Because politicians will not fund a wall to stop illegals coming into this country and pouring in? Because liberals run down there and yell about the possible, not the possible trafficking of children, it's the fact that people are bringing children in with no documents whatsoever, and we separate them to validate it's their children and what's going on. But Democrats would rather have human, trafficking of children across the border at any cost as opposed to border security. So this guy has he has a phony Social Security card, and he has phony driver's license, and he kills this young lady. Are you hearing that as a top story anywhere? No. Now go to the one video that I said I have to start at like 5 minutes or whatever, Elizabeth Warren. Do you have that video? Let's see. Elizabeth Warren, Mueller needs to, and I think I have about 5 minutes or something. I have a time. Tell me when you can pull that up and get it ready. This is Elizabeth Warren on CNN yesterday concerning Molly Tibbetts and her comments.
That's what it's about.
I want to get one last question in
Sure.
here because it is a story, a very important story in the news. It has to do with Molly Tibbetts, the young woman in Iowa who was murdered, her body believed to be found yesterday. A person has been charged with it. This person is an undocumented immigrant. Mike Pence and the president have suggested the immigration laws need to be stronger so that people like this man who was accused of this murder were not in the country. Your reaction?
You know, I'm so sorry for the family here, and I know this is hard, not only for the family, but for the people in her community, the people throughout Iowa. But one of the things we have to remember is we need an immigration system that is effective, that focuses on where real problems are. Last month, I went down to the border, and I saw where children had been taken away from their mothers. I met with those mothers who had been lied to, who didn't know where their children were, who hadn't had a chance to talk to their children, and there was no plan for how they would be reunified with their children. I think we need immigration laws that focus on people who pose a real threat, and I don't think mamas and babies are the place that we should be spending our resources. Separating a mama from a baby does not make this country safer.
Senator Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts, thanks for being with us this morning.
You bet.
Morning.
You bet.
Molly's family, let me just say this to you. I'm really sad about Molly. I hate it for you. I hate it for the whole family. You know, I'm sorry to hear that. But let's focus on where the real problem lies. Can you believe what you just heard out of Elizabeth Warren's mouth? I'm sorry for your family, and I'm sorry. Let's focus where the real problem lies. Let's shift to the real problem. Mothers and their babies being ripped apart at the border. Let's focus on the real problems we have in immigration. I'm sorry for Molly and the family. Can you believe that woman's comments? Can you believe her statement? Can you believe what they are saying across this country? Why Democrats, it's very clear, will not stand up and discuss what's going on with illegal aliens in this country? Now, all of that put together, all right, it's not he is correct about our country, but Cuomo did not make a mistake in New York last week, or whenever it was, when he said, make America great again. We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great in the first place. You need to understand, these people, the Democrats and the socialists, all right, that's how they feel. I mean, just every once in a while, they accidentally tell the truth of how they feel and get caught. How many Maduro down there in Venezuela, how many hours have you, how much time have you seen CNN and MSNBC or ABC, CBS, but especially those two networks, spend on Venezuela and how Venezuela had an opportunity to be one of the wealthiest countries with their oil reserves if they would have had an open capitalist system for their people to thrive economically. How many of those networks are spending the time? When's the last time you've heard a complete, in-depth, detailed, in prime time, not hidden back somewhere on the last page of one of their networks, on the socialist collapse of Venezuela? That is it a million times? I mean, it's astronomical. The inflation is a million percent or 100 million percent or something like that. The inflation, okay? We're getting ready to have a total collapse. I mean, we're maybe days away from just a flat out total collapse of Venezuela. And what do we do with it? What do you do with Venezuela? Because it's in our region, okay? Syria is over there. A lot of the things that we see on TV is over there. Venezuela is right down there. And we have to pay attention to it. Because we definitely don't want certain people coming in and helping prop up and stabilize Venezuela in our region. So that being said, how much time is spent? None. Elizabeth Warren, let's get to the real problem here. Sorry, Molly. Now, they have false documents. They pay in. This is where you need to look a little deeper. They actually pay into the government their taxes, but they don't file a tax return. Well, does the government not realize they're getting tax money on a Social Security card that's fraudulent? They don't care. You could send the money and say your Social Security number is 111-1111-1111, and they will take your money because the government has billions of dollars that they do not do tax returns, they do not do tax refunds on. There's nobody to send a refund to because the person does not exist and there's no tax return filed. A couple things, just not to get too deep in the weeds this morning, is one, they have a fraudulent Social Security number. Now this is going to get better. They have a fraudulent Social Security number, okay? And they tend to take a child's Social Security number. I've actually worked at a company where we received letters saying Juan so-and-so, so-and-so is only 3 years old or 4 years old. Can't be working. But it takes years for the IRS. It takes years for our government to find things. Or all of a sudden, you get a letter, you're sitting at home, you get a letter, and somebody stole your Social Security number. Because you go to these places, and I used to know the places you could go, okay? In the construction industry, I watch it all the time. And you go to these places, and they give you a Social Security card, and the numbers they make up generally match somebody else's somewhere in the United States. But they don't file taxes, so you don't know. So you keep sending this money in, okay, under this tax number, and then all of a sudden the government 4 years down the line, takes 3.5, 4 years, you all of a sudden get hit with a tax bill, or you get hit with, you didn't file your taxes, and I didn't work there. And it's a nightmare to clean up. If you just heard the stories of the innocent people in this country that get their taxes all messed up through their Social Security by somebody stealing the number, how many children that start out in life that already made $300,000 didn't pay any taxes on it, and all of a sudden they have a mess, they're 4 years old. You think I'm joking? It's not a joke. Now let's move to the driver's license before I end today's show. Let's move to the driver's license side, okay? And the driver's license side, all right? The driver's license side, the states give them a driver's license, knowing they are illegal, okay? Now, it's okay, it's not okay to know who's in our country. It's not okay to tighten the border. But the argument is we need to know who's on our roads. What sense does that make? All right? What sense does that make? We give them a driver's license. Most states in the United States issue driver's license to illegals because we decided if they're going to be here, we might as well know who's here, who's on the road. Really? Now, here's the other thing. And I'm saying this directly to Mr. Kemp, not in a derogatory way in the state of Georgia, Brian Kemp, because we know, and this is not an attack against the candidate for governor, Brian Kemp, okay? We know Stacey Abrams will never even entertain this thought. But for several years, the Georgia legislature has tried to pass a bill that would at least make it to where when you give a Georgia driver's license, you have to identify their undocumented status in Georgia. And lawmakers won't pass it. So let me explain this really quickly. I wish I had the graphic up today. Look at your driver's license, okay? And you got your driver's license, you got your picture, you got all your information, and picture it this way, okay? All right? Now, if you're under 21, the picture goes this way, okay? And at the top, it's very clear at the top it says junior license or under 21. I forget what it says, okay? It goes this way right here when you're over 21, this way, and it's very, so if you hand law enforcement your driver's license out the window, they know this fast that you're over 21 or this fast that you're under 21. Law enforcement knows immediately. Second, we have so many diplomats in this country. In Georgia, you have Mercedes, you have Porsche, you have Kia, you have foreign workers. These I said diplomats, well, whatever. You have all of these companies that have foreign employees come over to their corporate offices here in Georgia. That's great, okay? Their driver's license is just like the under 21. It says foreign license on the top. It's turned this way. So when you hand your driver's license to the officer, if it looks this way, hey, that's you. That's you're a resident of Georgia. You're a citizen of Georgia. If it's like this, oh, you're either under 21, the law enforcement, or it says foreign dignitary or foreign license or whatever that you're with. All right? They know immediately. The bill that people have been trying to pass is to get an undocumented alien's license to say that on the top so law enforcement will know. Instead, they get a license this way, and there's a small part down here if you know to look or you take the time to look. We can't identify them on a driver's license properly. We give them a driver's license. They steal Social Security numbers and phony Social Security numbers. They come pouring across our borders with children that we don't even know belong to them or not. We ask no questions. We take them into our schools. It's against the law. If they go down to your school right now and mom cannot answer any questions and says she does not speak English, the kid speaks all the English, they can't ask any questions. They got to put them in school. All right? And Elizabeth Warren says, let's get to the real problem. And Molly is dead. Molly is dead. Somehow we got a problem. And we need, the President of the United States wants to address it, wants to fix it, but Democrats won't allow him to do that. I'm your host, BKP. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back, wrap up the show with a couple more things. Will Republicans flip? And let me check to see if there's any new, maybe there's somebody flipped while we were on this morning. Take us to break.
Ace is your helpful place for paint and home goods, tools, outdoor living,